The word was spoken by the mouth of the prophets. Let it be. Times of hard working and poverty of souls. The flesh is at a crossroads. Behind the walls of lies, vices of hearts, the human heart despises the truth. Doomed to misery, blind slaves, systems of hungry spawn. And among all this crowd, nuggets hide in empty apartments on the outskirts of cities, tormented by everyone and at all times, utter the word of life with pure lips. The weak string will sink into the deep of oppression, and after it, a new life will be reborn under the all-seeing eye of God, the Spirit of Truth.
I welcome you to the Movement to the Light platform. We will not tell you how to act, how to think and what to do. We only give you access to information and how to dispose of it. Decide for yourself. I want to say in advance that you should not look for justice, but you should look for yourself and your place in this world. Because in the world of manipulation and deception, it is difficult to find the right answers. There will also be no answers from our side, only keys will be given, so that you can independently participate in the assembly of the game called life. And today, it's time for the 12th series. The universe, Earth, person. What determines the scale? The scale determines the depth. Depth is built from thought because thought is inextricably linked with the magnitude of the personality. The universe is something large scale, something majestic. The greatness of the universe is in the diversity, in its scale, in its unique beauty. The basis of the universe is built on the spirit of truth. It determines its course and its movement, because the universe is a living organism. The body consists of cells that are carried along the bloodstream, and the universe consists of stars and planets that are carried along the orbits. The Earth is a small cell of the big cosmos. There is a place of life that is built on the spirit of truth. Just as the cell consists of atoms, so the Earth is inhabited by different species that interact with each other. The atom is not something separate, but there is something whole connected with the general energy of life. The energy of life comes from the spirit of truth, for the spirit has laid down the rules and order on which everything in the universe is based. The energy of life flows in all living organisms, both small and large. Man is a large organism on the scale of himself, but there is a small atom on the scale of the cosmos. The understanding of the scale comes from the person himself, comes from an understanding of his essence and his task. The task of man is to multiply life on earth. Understanding the essence gives a person the keys to self-knowledge. These keys reveal the scale of a person because the atom isn't something separate. The atom, though small in size, is great in meaning. The meaning is determined by the scale of the personality, and the scale of the personality is determined by the depth of thought, determined by the knowledge of oneself and one's task. Man is a small atom, but he is also the whole universe, for the atom is a physical concept, and the universe is a mental concept. Self-knowledge reveals to man the mental side of his personality, opens the keys to the whole universe, while ignorance closes itself to man, making his life a physical concept, making him a parasite on earth, because he no longer strives for life, but sows death. Death is destruction. There is an uncontrolled desire to get everything that can be snatched. There is a violation of order and a departure from the spirit. Life is given to a person as a temporary phenomenon, given to a search for himself and his path in a limited time. Every person have found himself will find the truth, become a bearer of the truth, and inherit eternal and real life. Other ways will lead him to death, mental death, because physical existence has a limited period. The choice of a person determines his final fate, determines who will become. A small atom whose age is not long, or the whole universe whose time is eternal. Who am I? A vessel in which sin and faith are layered. Being under God's gaze, I learned that there is a measure for everything. Who am I? A pinch of a dust, a shadow in a gaze of human. A bird is happy to trill its wings. I am a shadow in a sheep's stable. Who am I? I am a spark of God, and in my incorruptible soul I am multiplying a verbal fire with God's blessing. And really, who am I, and who is the earth, and who is the universe? You probably noticed and were a little confused that I said, who is the earth, and who is the universe, although people calmly perceive the pronoun who to themselves. But to perceive it to things on a different level, this is already a more difficult task. This series will be very difficult to understand, so it will be great if you don't get distracted, because now things will be said that will require maximum attention and involvement and not just watching during the rush between cases. So to come to the answer what unites to the entire universe, and it usually takes years of life for one person, but all the answers are quite simple, only the path to them is complicated. But when you come to them, a lot of changes. In order to get the right answers, first you need to ask questions correctly. Today's question now was addressed to the entire universe, and it sounded like this. Who is the universe? I will slowly bring you to the answer so that you don't miss the essence and not a single detail. And they consist in the fact that by asking the question, what is the universe? We evaluate it as an object of study, but putting the question from a different angle, we study the universe as a subject, and here an additional question arises. How can we come to the conclusion that the universe is a subject? And in order to answer this question, it will be necessary to analyze modern science and philosophy of the ancient world. Usually people share everything, trying to study the details separately. This helps to better understand the rules of the material world, but to understand the world itself. It requires an understanding of not only material, but also spiritual laws. That is why it is important to realize that everything is one, and people who bet on matter studying only a part of the universe, turning it into an object of research. But if we bet on spiritual laws, then we study the entire universe as a whole, because we don't separate matter from spirit. Modern science studying the material world studies only its material qualities of which it consists. Science has proved that there are 4 states of matter: solid, liquid, gaseous, and plasma. And on the basis of this data, scientists built their scientific hypotheses, which are confirmed or not confirmed by practice. It is safe to say that such an approach gives certain and quite specific results. In terms of the development of technologies, we have gone quite far recently. But if we consider the development of the person himself as a person, then we are sliding down in terms of the development of individual abilities. And more humanity is plunging into the abyss of psychological problems. This is due to the fact that we study the world as an object of research, using it as an application to our imposed desires. But if people studied the world as a subject, then the relation would be built in two-way order. This raises another question. And how can we build a relationship with the universe as a living subject? And there is an answer to this question, but it is impossible to come to it within the framework of modern science. For science has advanced far in the study of matter, but it has missed the most important detail. What gives life to matter? If we turn to the true wisdom which can be effaced from the Indian treatises, the four state matter were previously called as follows: fire, water, earth, and air. And in this treatise there is an addition that there is an element that unites four elements around itself, being in the center of this structure. This element is the fifth element, and this is not the name for a fantastic film, but the element that is life itself. In its name is Akasha. There are things in the world that are difficult or almost impossible to describe in words. Akasha is one of such things. But after learning it, you can understand a lot, and after realizing it, you will no longer need words to confirm it. I think that it is worth slightly opening the veil of secrecy, because it is better to see once than to hear 1,000 times. Try to take a comfortable position so that nothing to distract you. Akasha is life, and to find out what the universe is, you need to find out who Akasha is. And now the most suitable time for this is now. Akasha is life itself. It is under the control of the Spirit of Truth. The Spirit of Truth is the control of God, who laid down the rules and order. Perhaps someone will say that I speak too superficially, but for now it is necessary, because it is necessary to bring complex things gradually and carefully. Since it is impossible to fully describe Akasha, I will give you comparative analogies so that you can see the connection between the unity of the universe and man. In order to understand this relationship, it is enough to show a little more care, attention to yourself and to the world around you. Then you will be able to see the relationships between clusters, between the galaxies and the neurons in your brain, between the veins on your hands and the reverbs, between the depth of stars and Cal division, between the shades of your eyes and nebulae. And this list is long so that you can see the image of the universe in your image, which is the image of God. Therefore, by showing curiosity and carefully studying the world, you will find your way to the truth, and after passing this path, you will see your reflection, and when this happens, you will understand the beauty of the idea that everything complex consists of simple, and everything simple is a small copy of the big world, and only the depth of the person himself determines whether he will be able to see all this. whether he will be able to realize all this and whether he will be able to multiply all this. Results. Everything in the world is one. The universe is a living organism. Man is a universe if he understands his essence and his basis. The basis of the universe is Akasha. Akasha is controlled by the Spirit of Truth. And the Spirit of Truth is in the government of God. And one last thing, remember, one series will not give an exhaustive answer to everything. We did this intentionally so that you would come to the conclusion that there is no one answer to everything, that the answer to everything lies in the answers to many questions. We'll analyze these questions in the following series, which will complement each other, so that you have a complete picture, because the whole, although it is a combination of many details, is not always identical to them, just like pure reason, although it is a combination of a huge life experience, it isn't an experience initially, and in order for a separate experience to become a pure mind, it will require making the right efforts. We'll finish this today. Peace be upon you and your home.